6.
Welcome to Everyday Orthodox. I'm Elissa Bjeletich, and we are live on Ancient Faith Radio. It is Sunday, May 31st, 2020. And we are coming to you, of course, in strange times. We're all still social distancing because of coronavirus, which, of course, means that Everyday Orthodox is very appropriate because we can meet new people every week and be perfectly socially distanced while we're doing it. And, we're here every Sunday night on Ancient Faith to meet new people. To get to know some interesting Orthodox people. I find that when I'm sitting there at coffee hour or I travel around sometimes to different Orthodox churches, the people I meet are always just fascinating. You start asking questions, and if I can just control myself, because I'm a talker, if I can just sit quietly for a minute and listen, people start saying the most amazing things. And I think that Orthodox people are fascinating. We come from all sorts of places, all different countries around the world. And of course, we have people who grew up as the children of immigrants, or people who are immigrants, people who are converts who've come in from all different sorts of places and through different paths. And it's all just very fascinating. We're kind of split up into these various jurisdictions, and we worship in different languages, but we're all Orthodox. We're all members of the body of Christ. And I think it's so beautiful to be able to get us together and get to know people across those jurisdictions and across different lines. So I enjoy that very much. And of course, right now our country is being torn apart by riots, and we have all kinds of crazy things happening, all kinds of difficulties. It's been a very somber time in the United States, very difficult time. And I think, it's a good thing to remember how important it is to sit and listen to one another, and to hear each other's stories and to get to know people. And, maybe in some ways that's an art that we're losing in the United States. Maybe we're forgetting how to just sit and listen to someone who's different and who has different experiences. So, God willing, maybe this is good for all of us to just spend a little time listening. But at any rate, this evening, we will be getting to know a really lovely young couple. And, I think you probably haven't talked to anyone exactly like them lately, because they're really cool and they have a very different story. Patrick has been a punk rock musician traveling around, living on the West Coast mostly. Laura grew up in Arkansas and she lived in New York. She's been many places. She's an actor. And they have come home to Laura's family home. They live now in Brinkley, Arkansas on a farm, and they have a beautiful little 19-month-old daughter, Elizabeth. And they're really just a lovely couple, and I think it would be great to get to know them tonight. So I'm excited to have them on the program. Welcome, Patrick and Laura.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, I am so excited to have you guys here. I noticed Laura and I were communicating via email earlier, and your daughter was baptized on February 22nd, 2020. I was baptized on February 22nd, 2000. So exactly 20 years before she was. And then you guys came in and were chrismated the next day. So I think that's very cool. We're all, 20 years apart and yet in sync with each other. So that was kind of fun.
And one more layer on that. That's my birthday, February 22nd. So it was like extra cool. It was like the best birthday present ever. I got
what a beautiful thing for your birthday.
It was beautiful.
Baptisms are so
cool.
Joyful, aren't they? They're just the most joyful, lovely baptisms and chrismations, also churchings with little babies. But like all of those things, you just walk around grinning for the rest of the day because they're so lovely.
Oh, we were so excited.
Yeah, it was really special. Really, we're so happy she I don't know if she's technically cradle Orthodox now, but she's kind of close to it. We're so happy she gets to grow up in the
church.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It really is neat. It's neat timing for you guys to be coming into the church because it's like a gift that you're able to give her that, I always felt like that I was pregnant when I was baptized. And so with my first daughter, and I just always felt like, wow, she's so lucky that she'll just have all of this and it'll seem natural and a part of her. And I always felt like how lovely that you can go to all these different countries and go to an Orthodox service in any language. And it's always that same liturgy and they have like a little piece of home no matter where they go. So I thought that was cool. I didn't have that growing up. Now you guys grew up though in the evangelical tradition. So were you guys growing up with church in your life? It's probably a different story for each of you. So maybe we'll take one at a time. Laura, what was your childhood like? Were you born in Arkansas? Is that right?
Yes, I was born in Arkansas, and I grew up in Brinkley, Arkansas, out in the country on my family's farm. I'm the oldest of 4 girls, and my father has been farming his whole life. He farmed a little over 3,000 acres, I think, corn, rice, wheat, and soybeans.
It's rice country here.
Rice country here, definitely.
The Delta.
So he's been doing that. That was just normal for me my whole life. And we were Southern Baptist, and I love church. We went to church every Sunday. I sang in the children's choir. That's where I figured out I could sing, and so I would sing solos in church. I was involved in the youth ministry when I got older, and I actually ended up going to a Christian college too. So
a Baptist school,
yes, Washington Baptist University. So during that time in my life, I really did enjoy church, and yes, I was raised Southern Baptist, which I think people in the South are raised.
It's
pretty popular.
It's very popular. Yes, I think all over the South. I think it's mostly Baptist, really. I don't know what the numbers are, but it sure feels like it. But so you grew up in on a farm in Arkansas. It's between Little Rock and Memphis. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, Brinkley is kind of equidistant from both.
Yes.
On the eastern side of the state.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's beautiful land, right? Is it different? I mean, I think when you think of growing up in a small town, a lot of times you're kind of out in the middle of nowhere and you're a little bit disconnected from what might be going on in a city or from what the resources in a city are, but also from the problems in the city. Being only an hour away from 2 pretty major cities, did you have like a really isolated experience, or did it feel like almost a suburb of 2 cities?
I never felt like I was isolated, and I think it was because I was very involved in after-school activities. I started singing and then competing in pageants, of course, like a good Southern belle. So my mom would drive me to Little Rock for my vocal lessons, and we would go shopping in Little Rock. We had friends in Little Rock, but then we could always come back home, and that was really nice to just be surrounded by my dad's land, and it was quiet and peaceful.
Yes. Well, and that's interesting. I also grew up in a really small town, agricultural family. And my mom would take me, I did like different things in town. You'd go back and forth. And then there were always the kids who like did not travel back and forth to the city. And it's two totally different experiences, I think. Don't you think that it's like one is kind of, you have an island of peace, but you're still connected to all these bigger things going on. And then, you have friends who are just completely, I don't want to say exactly isolated because they're not alone, but it's like this tiny little community, and that's kind of all they know, which is also, I feel like, a different kind of experience, but also a good one, I'm sure. But is that kind of how it is in Brinkley? Are there some people who are really just like never leave the city kind of thing, or never leave the town, rather?
Oh, definitely. Yes, there's definitely that situation going on. And the town used to be, well, my dad grew up here, like I said, and it used to be a very thriving community. He said we had a movie theater, we had all these different things.
Oh yeah, you drive down the main drag with him. He's like, that was the old drugstore. Yes. Soda shop there, and this grocery.
But as time has passed on, people have moved away, especially young families. They're moving to Little Rock or places with a more thriving community. So the small town life is kind of disappearing, which is sad.
Yeah. I think that's a problem all over the world, probably, but certainly all over the United States. So is the town, would you say, like kind of does it feel kind of ghost towny, or is it just that it's not as bustling as it used to be?
Oh, I would say it's definitely more of a ghost situation, but
drive around. I would say, like,
Patrick
I would say as an outsider, I'm not from here, but it's kind of, there's, closed storefronts and dilapidated buildings there, but then there's also cute little shops right beside it, and there's people walking the streets and going to the grocery store. And
so I guess I say that because my experience when I was younger was the town was a little bit more exciting.
You have something to contrast it with.
Yeah, but there's still, stores are still open. I still see some people that I know that I grew up with, that I went to church with.
You go to the Sonic here, happy hour, 2 to 4 p.m.
Everyone's out for the happy hour at Sonic.
Sonic happy hour. Yeah, that's a big deal in small towns, I'll tell you.
How's it going? Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's the hot spot in Arkansas.
That is so cool. So, Patrick, tell me, did you also grow up in a small town, or what was your childhood like?
I did. Gosh, it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to.
That's okay. We've got time. We've got time. Tell us all about it.
Yeah. I was born in Virginia, a little town called Bedford. My parents were both going to college in Virginia. And then when I was like 2 months old, they moved back to Arkansas, where my mom's from, and my dad has roots here as well. So I grew up mostly in Arkansas until I was 12. And my dad was a pastor. When I was, baby, he went to a school called Liberty. It's a Baptist college, and he went there pastoral studies, and he was a youth minister. And then through one thing or another, he kind of branched out and got kind of involved in the charismatic world, and then one thing led to another, and eventually he was a pastor of a church called the Vineyard, which is like a non-denominational sort of semi-charismatic evangelical church. So that's kind of the world I grew up in. I was baptized in the Baptist church, and then spent most of my childhood part of the Vineyard. And then anyway, when I was 12, my dad's business, he had to work on the side because we had 4 kids at that time. Where we had one more, so 5 kids. But, he just couldn't support a big family on the small wage
on that little pastor salary. Absolutely. So what else did he do on the side? What was he doing?
So gosh, this is another part of the long story, but when I was, so to backtrack a little bit to give you context, when I was about 2, I came down with what they at that time called juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, which was a really rare disorder or sickness. Even today, very few kids have it. But around the time when kids are running around, I was actually crippled by it and had a lot of serious side effects from it. And
it can be very debilitating. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. My mom tells stories. I had to kind of crawl onto my elbows and knees because I couldn't really unbend them, and I was having horrible night fevers all the time and really high fevers consistently. And so anyway, that's just to say, we were going to all these doctors and specialists, and nothing works. I was on a really heavy regimen of like children's aspirin, and that was pretty much all they could do was to try and keep me out of super bad pain. So anyway,
that was about it. It was like children's aspirin. Oh my goodness.
Well, then it got to a point where it was a crossroad. Like, we can keep treating it this way, or we can go on to some really heavy duty stuff, like steroids that had a really significant risk of, stunting my growth physically and mentally, but would probably help my body kind of uncoil, would help the systems. And my mom was not into that at all. And gosh, we're in our 30s with our first kid, but my mom was like 25 at that time. kind of crazy to
I
think.
think she was younger.
Well, I mean, if I to, so anyway, somewhere in there. So she kind of took a leap of faith and took me to an herbalist, Chinese herbalist that my uncle knew of in Chicago. So she drove us to Chicago, and anyway, that actually helped a lot. And then
Wow. Well, wait, so you went to a Chinese herbalist. So you're a kid from Arkansas who is in debilitating pain all the time. And you show up in Chicago and you walk into the office or the building of a Chinese herbalist. What was that like for you? Like, did you feel like, yeah, this is probably going to be great? Or did you just feel like this was like the weirdest thing and it wasn't going to work? Or where were you?
Well,
what's that like? Like, how old were you at the time?
So I was a toddler, so I do actually have memories. It's funny because I have pretty strong memories of my toddler baby period because I have kind of traumatic experiences. I was getting blood work done every day and doing physical therapy and in and out of doctor's office. And if I smell rubbing alcohol, I still like get shivers. Yeah. But so anyway, I remember going to the office, believe it or not, I was 2.5 or 3, somewhere in there at that point, probably 3. And remember he said, it's this doctor, Dr. Guo, he's from China. He's a great doctor. He said, he's very sick. He's very green. And anyway, he put me on a regimen of herbs. And I know a lot of people think it's quackery, and maybe it is for other people, but it really worked for me. And also, I mean, we were on every prayer chain in, the Mid-South at the time, but I know that helped as well. It had to be semi-miraculous at least because there was no medical reason for me to recover. And it coincided with me taking a regimen of herbs.
Wow. It's like on the one hand, you never know when you're dealing with something outside of mainstream medicine, how legitimate it is or whatever. You kind of have to try it and see. But I mean, that makes sense to me in the sense that arthritis is really about inflammation, right? So there are a lot of things that reduce inflammation. It makes sense that there would be herbs that would help with this. So do you have to, do you still continue treatment today? Or is this something that happened when you were young and it was resolved and now you go on, other than the rubbing alcohol PTSD problem, which I totally get. I mean, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, but praise God, but I'm totally healed from all of that. If I have a lingering effect, it's that I am really inflexible to this day. Like, just it's really embarrassing. Like, I can hardly touch my shins when I bend over. It's like really stiff, and I'm sure some of it's genetic, but I know a lot of it's that I was basically bedridden for a year plus when I was a toddler. So, but I don't have the horrible inflammation or pains. I recently had rheumatoid factor checked just for the heck of it at a naturopath, and they said, "Oh, you're fine." So
wow, that's amazing.
I'm
that's
totally
fantastic.
From it. Yeah,
wow.
And so so that was all a setup, though, to bring it back to my dad, what he was doing on the side. Well, that doctor, the Chinese herbalist, he also had a trading corporation that, was basically selling Chinese goods to American companies, and they were mainly involved in like fitness equipment and stuff. Anyway, my dad then hit it off, and he ended up working for that guy. And later they started a fitness company together based out of where my dad's from, which is Ventura, California. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm rambling.
No, you're not. You're not. It's so. I mean, it's really interesting. So, where did you end up? How did that?
Well, so fast forward like 10 years, I guess. Then my dad's second business, he was involved in with this doctor really took off. It was based out of California, which is where he grew up, a little town called Ventura. It's, an hour north of LA-ish.
Yeah.
And so then my dad kind of left the ministry and moved us all out to California. And so then I spent a long time there and lived about half my life on the West Coast.
Okay. So when you were there in Southern California, your dad wasn't a pastor anymore then. He just went full time with the professional work and okay.
Right.
But I'm sure you were still a very religious family.
I think that's safe to say. We're practicing Christians. We went to church pretty regularly. It was such a culture shock, though. It's so funny, coming from the Bible Belt, a place like rural central Arkansas. We're like living in this little tiny town called Gravel Ridge, and moved to Ventura, and it's just a very different religious experience for sure. I moved halfway through grade, and I remember, like trying to make friends. And first off, I was from Arkansas and had a twang, and I was not cool. Like all the cool kids were surfing and skating, and I was like, yeah, I used to live in the middle of nowhere. But also, like, when I went to church, it was so strange. Like I'd meet people and kind of try to get a sense of what they're like, and say, where do you guys go to church? And you're like, what? So that was a culture shock, and it took our family a while to find church out there, and we kind of jumped around a little bit, but we did attend regularly a number of churches. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's pretty neat. So then you're there in Los Angeles going through this, or north of Los Angeles, but tremendous culture shock, I'm sure, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So what did you end up doing? So you went to high school, I guess, in Ventura and graduated there. What did you end up doing then?
Yeah. I went to high school there and graduated, and then when I was in even actually middle school, I started playing music with people, and there's a Christian punk band I got into, MXPX. Some people may have heard of them that listen to this, but I just loved them, and I got really into underground music of all kinds and stuff. And so in high school, I started playing in a lot of bands and garage bands, and then by my senior year, I was in a band that we were kind of playing shows a lot, and we went on a little tour after I graduated that summer, and then
well, out of curiosity though, so you started out listening to a Christian punk band, which is like something I didn't even know existed, actually, honestly, to tell you the truth. So it's a Christian punk band, and you start like, did that carry you like more into punk music in general, or like were you in a Christian punk band, or were you just in a punk band?
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
It's a little oxymoronic, I guess. But yeah, I've been certainly very, non-religious, non-Christian bands, but I've been in Christian punk bands as well. In the evangelical world, kind of trying to represent our worldview. But the bands I was in, though, I don't know, we were playing with mostly non-Christian groups. We were not. It's funny, you might be surprised, but there are like Christian record labels and festivals and all sorts of stuff, and it's possible to be like an underground band and only play churches and
that's cool. That's amazing. That's wonderful.
Stuff, but
it makes perfect sense that there would be Christian punk, right? I mean, I know there's Christian rap and there's all kinds of stuff. Punk is funny because it's so feels so anti-establishment, right? And Christianity is identified with the establishment, but Christianity wasn't always the establishment, right? I mean, it certainly doesn't start that way. So
it didn't, and it's fun that right now there is sort of a sea change inversion happening where it is a little bit countercultural at the moment.
That's right.
To be a person of sincere Christian faith, it really, core tenets of Christianity always run rub up against whatever worldly culture, is happening at the time. But especially right now, it's dare I say a little bit punk to be Christian.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's very cool. There you go.
Also,
all right.
I have to add something that he also had a green mohawk when he was in high school.
I did for a little while.
That's how you know you're growing up in Ventura and not back in Arkansas. Because I don't care how punk you were, I don't think you would have been doing that in high school in Arkansas.
Very true. Yeah, I was
back
skating, playing music and stuff. So but that was my high school experience. I guess.
Well, and it sounds like your band did pretty well. I mean, you were fairly popular. You're playing a lot of different places by senior year, right? So that's, would you say the band was doing great, right?
Yeah, I think so. And, like no one's heard of us now, but at the time we had a little bit of a buzz or a following. We played some shows in Southern California, and we did a couple tours through the U.S., and it was really fun, super fun memories of that.
That is fun. That is really cool. Yeah. Now, in the Christian punk world, were you ever aware of Luxury, the Orthodox punk band? Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay, so there's a documentary.
I don't know about them still. I got to check them out.
Okay, there's a documentary about a punk band named Luxury right here on Ancient Faith Radio. You can find it in the Ancient Faith documentaries section. And it's a band called Luxury, and they did not start out Orthodox. They were Christians. And they, I don't know if I'm not sure I don't think they were really Christian punk, but don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. But they were a punk band made up of Christians for sure. Yeah. And three of them ended up becoming Orthodox priests. It's a fascinating story. There's there's a car accident. There's all this stuff happens. And in the end, now the band still exists. 3 Orthodox priests in the band. So it's really it's a very, it's a pretty unusual crowd. It's 3 Orthodox priests and 1 elder in the Presbyterian church.
And they're
a punk band.
They're very good.
They are. They're really good. That's Bobby Maddox. Bobby's weighing in here. They're very cool. I did not know that you did not know about Luxury. That's so cool.
Thank you, Bobby. Yeah. Here I am thinking I'm up on things. But it's so exciting to find a new band. I'm sure I'll like them. But
It's pretty neat.
I'm gonna listen to them tonight for sure.
And I'm gonna tell you something. I mean, the Orthodox world is a small world, and as you move through your life, you're gonna end up meeting all of these people in that band. I'm confident of it because it's they're great. They're awesome priests. They're really neat people, and they're also great musicians. I have a feeling you will meet them at some point. So
I just realized I haven't said the name of the band, so I'll just plug real quick. One band was called Hit the Deck. And then I played drums in another band called Dry Rot, and we also were like Christians in a band. And both of those, cool. I just wanted to clarify, we were playing not really Christian shows or Christian festivals. We mostly played with secular bands. So we thought that was important to not be in a bubble, but to bear witness in the world.
Right. That makes sense. How did that go? Did you get a lot of pushback, or were you guys kind of relaxed and cool enough and able to get along with everybody? How does that work, in the world of punk bands and festivals?
Oh, it was a real mixed bag, I guess. We made so many good friends with people who very much didn't share our beliefs. And then there were some people that really didn't like us and were not very nice. That happens. We had, so funny, the band I was in, Dry Rot, one time we had a guy book our band, and he really liked us. He bought a bunch of records and stuff. And he was in a pretty prominent, well-known band that's really good. And so we were like, oh, that's so cool. And then we got to Portland, and wouldn't talk to us because I don't know, some message board drama had happened, and people called out and they're like, they're born again Christians. What are you doing? He actually booked the show, but he wouldn't go into the show. It was so bizarre.
Oh no. We had that's a shame.
Stuff like that happened, but no one trying to beat us
Right.
up or anything.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's something. It could have been a lot worse. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, cool.
Yeah,
Well, we're
overall,
gonna
very positive. Yeah.
good.
Okay.
Good. That's really neat, actually. But so we're going to take a short break. I want to let everybody know. I'm going to put a link to the documentary in case there are other people in the audience who have not heard about that. The Ancient Faith documentary, Parallel Love, is about the band called Luxury, and so that's for our audience and also for you, Patrick. When you're done, you know, when we finish,
great.
go to the Everyday Orthodox page and find it and listen to it. You'll love it. But we'll be right back with Patrick and Laura Landfair in just a few moments.
Everyday Orthodox with Elissa Bjeletich will be back in a moment. Give Elissa and her guest a call at 855-237-2346. That's 855-AF Radio.
Boldly proclaiming the truth of the risen Christ. This is Ancient Faith Radio, timeless Christianity 24 hours a day.
My name is Joseph Clark. I am a seminarian, and I met my fiance at orthodoxandsingle.com.
My name is Deacon Adam Roberts from the Go Forth podcast on Ancient Faith Radio. I started Orthodox and Single in 2016 with a desire to help our neglected singles. Since then, we have celebrated over 30 wedding engagements and receive over 200 new members every month. Orthodox and Single is a proud supporter of Ancient Faith Radio. That's orthodoxandsingle.com. Once again, the website is orthodoxandsingle.com. And as always, it is free to join and browse.
We're back with Everyday Orthodox with Elissa Bjeletich. Do you have a question for Elissa and today's guest? Call in now at 855-237-2346. That's 855-AF Radio. Here again is Elissa.
And welcome back to Everyday Orthodox. We're here tonight with Patrick and Laura Landfair. And I do want to say, if you want to join the conversation, you are welcome to call us. Bobby Maddox is right here answering the calls. It's at 1-855-AF Radio. That's 1-855-237-2346. And of course, the chat room's always open if you want to join us. ancientfaith.com/radio/live. So you are invited to join this conversation anytime and ask any questions you might have. But let's get back to Patrick and Laura. So we've been talking about Patrick and how he spent all of this time in a Christian punk group, or rather as a Christian in a punk group, or however you want to put that. That's very cool. I love the idea of you guys going out there and trying to witness to the world, to the punk world, right? The punk audience.
Yeah.
You try to witness. That's lovely. It's a different kind of missionary work, right? It's very, very cool. So Laura, all this time, you are still in Arkansas, and you've gone to school at a Christian college. But before that, you mentioned that you were taking singing lessons and you're participating in pageants. First of all, I want to hear a little bit about what it's like as a young woman being in a pageant in Arkansas. Like, what was that world like, right? Like, I mean, because, we see stuff on TV and reality shows, and, like, people are very catty and they're fighting all the time. What is it like? What was that culture like?
I would say that the stereotype is there for a reason, but I had a really great experience with pageants. I really like to sing, and my vocal instructor at the time told my mom that he thought I should compete in pageants because in the Miss Arkansas system, there's a talent portion. They have the interview, the fitness, the talent, and he thought it would be a great way for me to showcase my talent. And so I started competing in pageants. I think I was 14. Yes, okay. 14, 15. And all across the state, my mom would drive me to different pageants because I was trying to win like a regional pageant so I could go to Miss Teen Arkansas. And then I also did the state fair pageants, which are just a smaller version of that. And I had a great time. I was able to win a few of them, and it was fun winning a crown I
Yeah,
And
our daughter plays with her tiaras a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
It's kind of fun.
yes,
Well, I was gonna
I
say,
mean,
yeah. What about her? Like, would you, based on your experience in the pageants, would you encourage your daughter to be in pageants?
I think only if she really wanted to. If she really wanted to and came to me and said, "I want to. This is why," then of course we would
Okay.
maybe look into it. But
I
I'm not gonna. I would definitely wouldn't push her into anything just because I did it.
Well,
But
I
I had
think
a great
like a
time.
lot of children, a lot of kids' activities are like life consuming, right? So it's
Yes.
they have to really want it because the entire family is going to be on a different schedule based on it. But so you went through that. You're in the pageants and you love to sing. Would you say that you are by nature a performer?
Yes, definitely. I love to perform. I love being on stage. It's where I feel probably most at home. I think like in high school I was a little shy, and it was a great way for me to just get up there and do my thing, and let people know I was arriving, I guess.
Excellent. So when you went to college, did you like pursue any kind of performance while you were there, or was that like kind of a break time for you, or how did that go?
No, well, when I sang in church quite a bit and then in pageants, and when I was 17, I went to see Cinderella with my mother at the Arkansas Repertory Theater in Little Rock, which that kind of brings in the small town, big city situation because there wasn't any theater in Brinkley. And my mom thought that I might enjoy it, and she took me to see it, and I really liked it, and I just was looking up at the woman that was playing Cinderella and thinking, I could do that. I could do that.
Oh.
Yeah, so I went back and I talked to my mom about it, and then when it came time to figure out, where to go to college and what I wanted to major in, I was like, I'll major in musical theater.
There you go.
And my parents were really supportive, which was nice. And then I went to college for musical theater and performed, constantly all throughout my 4 years of college. I met some great people. I had a really awesome vocal instructor, and that was that pretty much.
How lovely. Okay. So then, so you studied in college. What happens next? Did you find yourself did you move? Well, I guess you went to New York, right? So did you go to New York straight out of college to be a performer on stage?
No, not straight out of college. I actually